In today's episode, we're going to share the key things you want to be able to what? Shine. Bring out your greatness in your personal and professional life. Maybe you feel stuck between fear and not knowing what to do next to step out into the limelight and live fully. Well, we have three experts here today, Kelli, Brenda, and Candace, who are going to share how to prepare for your greatness and make it seem natural. So, hi, Kelli.
Hi, Laura. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, share your name and where you're at and what you do.
Okay. So, my name is Kelli Stonework. I am in Maryland, and that is close to the Washington, D.C. area. I am a communication strategist. You can follow me on social media, Lady Speech Coach, or kyssolutions.com.
Great to have you,
Thank you.
Kelli. And hi, Brenda.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Laura. My name is Brenda Rogers. I'm based in Canberra, Australia, though I work globally. I work with women's health, and my website is qwomen.com.au.
Great to have you, Brenda. And hi, Candace.
Hi, Laura. Hi, everyone. I'm Candace Plattor, and I have a scratchy throat. I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and I am an addictions counselor in private practice. You can reach me at lovewithboundaries.com.
Well, welcome, Candace. And we have a lovely global show today for everyone. And we're going to dive right into our topic of how to prepare for greatness. So I wanted to ask you, Kelli, maybe you can share first about what advice do you have for our viewers to step into their greatness from what you do as an expert?
Sure, thank you. As I mentioned, I'm a communication strategist. I do have a trademark, and it's permission granted to stay. And stay stands for hashtag start thinking about you. I think that it's very important in the communication arena that when we're talking about presenting, so some people have a fear of presenting, but I think of it this way. If you are not talking to yourself 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week, then you are doing what's known as public speaking. And with that, if you think about it that way, you owe it to yourself to invest in strategies to help you with this everyday occurrence. So think about that. We're talking, we are writing, we're listening as well. And so I say invest in you, invest in strategies. So if you're at work, anytime you have an opportunity to present, do so. And don't think of it as having a big presentation in front of a large audience. It can be a one-on-one with your manager. You can come with the thoughts in your mind and then with an agenda and have a conversation. That's public speaking. If you lead a meeting, you can ask to lead a meeting. And that's with your team. So you become comfortable in those, we call them safe spaces. And then just move on from there. In your personal life, again, ask for opportunities to present. If you're doing volunteer work, ask for opportunities to present. And then after you've done that, think about what did you do well? You want to start to develop your coach, your internal coach. I think of your internal coach as after you've presented, what did I do well? And what will I do differently the next time?
I love your strategies, especially they're like step by step. You start where you're at, you acknowledge what you're already doing, and you look for opportunities to do a little bit more and then evaluate and get improvement. And that's sage advice for any for especially for stepping into one of the biggest fears, which is public speaking, which I'm getting is like, oh, we do it anyway, right?
You do it anyway on a daily basis.
That's great. Thanks, Kelli. All right. So, Brenda, what advice do you have for our viewers to prepare to step into their greatness?
I love that word sage, Laura, and I work a lot with sageism and wisdom. But I think there's a lot of us out there, a lot of women out there who would love to live their one authentic life, to know what that is. And I believe it's grounded in the body, and it's the body that tells us and teaches us how we need to move forward. And so it's a language that the body is speaking to us. And so I have some tips for women so that they can really hone their body so that it is the best vehicle for the spirit. So one of the things that I like to teach women is the morning routine. How we start our day is just so important. And of course, we know about starting the day with some gentle exercise or rigorous exercise, deep breathing, gratitude work, prayer, and really about setting the day up with a positive mindset. And I like to recommend also that we declutter and organize our environments so that they can be calm. That could be putting the diffuser on with some essential oils, for example. And then there's investing in our personal growth. That might be reading a page or reading some positive messages on Facebook, for example. But the one that I really love is the prioritizing of well-being. And I am postmenopausal, so I only eat 2 meals a day, which means I don't have breakfast. So that's an option. But for some people who do have breakfast, having that super healthy, supportive, nourishing breakfast is just setting your brain up for good functioning, setting your gut up for good functioning, and helping you to be in your best energy and best health for all the aspects of your life.
I love these self-care mindset and body set and tapping into personal growth. And that even goes back to what Kelli said in terms of, get strategies. So I love your strategies as well, Brenda. And Candace, I wanted to also go over to you and say, what advice do you have for our viewers to prepare to step into their greatness?
When I think about this, I like to think about my own life and how I felt, because I know a lot of people share a lot of the feelings. The stories might be different of our lives, but a lot of the feelings are the same. And so I think, we need to meet ourselves where we are and be gentle with ourselves and not be shooting on ourselves. SHOULD, not be shooting on ourselves. And, if we want to, I wanted to expand myself. I grew up in a family where I was taught that I really didn't matter and what I had to say didn't matter. And then I wrote a book and everybody wanted to interview me. And it was a very scary thing for me. And little by little by little, I became more accustomed to talking about myself and getting to a place where I could believe in myself and in my message and know that what I was sharing was important for people. But I did not start out that way. And so for those of you who are listening now and feeling like, well, that's great for her, but what about me? I'm terrified. It's like what Kelli and Brenda have said too. It's like, get started somewhere. Meet yourself where you are. If you need a coach, get a coach. If you need a counselor, which I did to get through some of the scary stories that I had to live through, then do that. Be good to yourself, be gentle with yourself, but also challenge yourself. Because if you don't do that, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So you need to do something differently. Anything, do something differently. And maybe every day or every week, you plan a goal to do something differently, to reach out here, reach out there, and do what you need to do so that your greatness can shine through, because we all have it.
We so do. And thank you for reminding us. Everyone you watching is a magnificent, great human being. And Brenda and Kelli and Candace are proving it right now because they've given you the strategies. They want to encourage, inspire, and enliven each of our lives. And I'm so grateful for that. And I love, Candace, that you rounded us out with be gentle. Take a step, be gentle, and then acknowledge yourself for whatever it is. Do the opposite of putting yourself down. Acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you can take something and look at it and say, oh, I didn't do it well enough. Or you can say, I did pretty good. At least I did this much, right? And this could be the same exact thing. And that's what
And
I'm
sometimes
Mhm.
and sometimes we can be our own worst enemies, and what we think we're doing terribly, nobody else is even noticing.
Exactly.
You know?
That could be the shift all the shift you need to take yourself from where you are to that greatness state. It's just that shift in how you see yourself and acknowledge yourself for. So I am super inspired and energized by all three of you. Tell me, we'll go back to Kelli. Tell me a little bit more about you. Who do you work with and what do you do for them?
Sure. Thank you again. I work primarily, I enjoy working, let me say this, with women and moms, business women, caregivers. And the reason why is because that's me. That's who I am. Um, and that's why I know the space that I've been in when I had the challenges, just like Candace mentioned, myself. And that's what kind of birthed the permission granted to stay, start thinking about you, because especially we as women, we take care of everyone and everything else, but we don't apply those same principles to our own lives. Or maybe it was just me. I don't think so, but I know that I was, just taking care of everyone and everything else. And I had to learn to be okay, give myself grace and permission to think about me. And so I start off when I'm working with the women, I say, we're going to start with you repeating after me. And that is, today, I give myself permission to think about, and I want you to say your name, right? Your name, not the role that you play, not that you're a mother, that you're a daughter, that you're a businesswoman, that you're an employee, not that, just the core, which is your name. And so I'll tell you about a story when it comes to the communication. And that is, I had one of my coworkers actually, and she was from a culture where women did not speak up and they did not have eye contact. So when she came to my class, it was very difficult for her to speak up. It was very difficult. I did an exercise for eye contact. And she said, so I made sure that I let her know that I'm empathetic to where she is, empathetic to the culture. However, in business, it's key, eye contact and speaking up. So I just shifted at that, acknowledging, what the issue was, or what her fear was, because that's the environment that she came from. And then I had, as I mentioned before, told her, start out in a safe space. Start out speaking up with your manager, then start out asking, can I lead a team meeting? Again, I feel like those are safe spaces. And also, I reminded her that her manager had encouraged her to attend the class. So she didn't have anything to lose. Like, he was in her corner. He wanted her to succeed. And so she did that, started out with the meetings. And then she asked, can I present at our department meeting? So it went from one-on-one to team meeting to department meeting. Then her department lead asked her, can you deliver a presentation to the executives? Wow, that was huge. And I reminded her about that internal coach. What did you do well? What will you do differently next time? She got a promotion. People were coming up to her saying, "What have you done?" And she began to exude confidence in herself, all because she gave herself permission to start thinking about her and
Love it.
invest in her.
Wow, beautiful. It's so great to watch people thrive, right?
Yes.
So, Brenda, I wanted to move over to you as well and find out, who do you work with and what do you do with them? And thank you again, Kelli.
Thank you.
I am passionate about working with women at that stage of life called midlife transition, also known as perimenopause or menopause. And I know it's a little bit of a taboo word, but it's a really difficult time. Even if you're well prepared, even if you're healthy, it can still be a really unsettling, overwhelming, stressful time that very much affects the endocrine system, the hormone system in the body. So as a naturopath, I work with the physical well-being side of things, and that might be hot flushes or anxiety or weight gain, these things that make life or make our bodies super uncomfortable. There are some wonderful natural remedies that support the body, that help with flushing and sleeping and energy levels, that don't require medications, and that a lot of women who really want to work with their bodies and get to know their bodies and not put in anything that's going to be counterproductive, there's strategies for that they can do that. But menopause and midlife transition is also an emotional roller coaster. You know, we can get spurts of anger and frustration, and there's a reason behind all of those. There's a spiritual reason that has been lost through time. It used to be taught to women, especially women in the West. We've lost that information. So I do a lot of educating, a lot of like, that's normal. Did you know that that's normal? You're meant to feel like that. And then, of course, to go even deeper and to address that spiritual journey that life is and that menopause is, so that we can step into that authentic life, our heart's desire, our sacred purpose, perhaps. Certainly for me, my sacred purpose is to teach women how to nourish their bodies through nutrition. And that expands then out to emotional nourishment and spiritual nourishment as well. Some women didn't get that as a child.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about being gentle.
And do you have a story to share about a client you helped? Yeah, I'd love to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah, so this key element is I shared with this particular client. She was diabetic, which meant that she was eating very badly for her body, not in alignment with her body. And she was binging, and it had started because her son had tried to commit suicide, which is extremely stressful. She'd given up all of her good habits when that stress just knocked her sideways. We were able to acknowledge the grief. There's some beautiful remedies in homeopathy and bark flower essences that support the grief process. And then she started to blossom. It took a while. These things don't happen overnight. It took a while, but she started to blossom. She started to stop the binging. She started to treat herself in other ways. She managed to convince her husband to go on long service leave, and they went to the coast and found a beautiful new home, which they're then renovating. And she wanted to do art classes, and she wanted to start yoga. So that sounds very easy, but over a period of 12 months, she transformed her life.
That's fabulous. And being able to help the healing of that family is incredible. And speaking of healing of families, Candace, I'd love to hear about what you do, who do you work with, and a story of how you came to this work.
Sure. Well, I am an addictions therapist, and I have been for over 30 years, and I work primarily with the families of people who love people who are addicted, because there's very little help out there for them. There's a lot of help for addicts. There's treatment centers and detoxes and groups and all kinds of things, but there's very little help for the people who love them, and are struggling and suffering right along with them. So when I understood that gap in service, I knew that I wanted to dedicate my professional life to that. And I'm so glad I do, because it's such a nourishing thing to wake up to do every day. What I do is I basically teach families the difference between enabling an addict and actually helping an addict. And there's a big difference a lot of times. So enabling an addict is when we do for somebody what they can be doing for themselves and what they need to be doing for themselves. And that keeps them stuck in the addiction. You know, if you want to enable me, I'll stay stuck in my addiction. But helping is when we challenge with love, we help them come out of addiction. The way I came to this work is 50 years ago this year, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And at that point, the doctors had no idea really what to do with me. I was in pain, I'm crying all the time, you know, and what they ended up doing was throwing a lot of addictive medication at me. And addiction wasn't on the radar at that point. I had no idea what was happening to me, but I soon developed an addiction to codeine and morphine and Demerol and Valium and all the drugs that they were giving me. And I had a 15-year devastating addiction to opioids without even realizing that that's what was happening to me. And at the end of my using, I was suicidal. I really needed help. I was a very different person than I am now. Reached out for help, got the helps. I still do that in my life. I'm 36 years clean and sober now. One day at a time, just like everybody else does it. It's a choice that we make to either stay in addiction or go into recovery. It's absolutely a choice that we make. And it's also a choice in families about whether they enable their addicts or whether they start to help them, right? So it was a very sort of smooth transition for me. I was working with addicts and alcoholics primarily in the beginning of my career doing this. I've had about 6 careers over my lifetime, I think. And the families of my clients started to call me and say, what do we do? We hate them. We love them. We hate them. They're banging on the door at 2:00 in the morning. We don't know what to do. And I didn't know what to tell them. I had no idea. There's no education for that. But I listened to them. I heard what was happening, developed some strategies. Strategies are so important. And started getting some results. And when I saw the results, that the addict stopped using when the boundaries were set, you know, and the families could start getting healthier, I knew I was onto something and just kept doing that.
It's
So,
huge, very
yeah.
huge. Thank you so much for your healing work. I mean, we could have called this show Strategies for Greatness, because all of you have given us such exquisite strategies to step into that limelight, to change lives. And thank you for the work. And these are the kind of women that we have here at Women Speakers Association. So if you want to do what Kelli, Brenda, and Candace have done and join a sisterhood where you can be featured, where you can reach more people, where you can discover more resources, please go to joinwsa.com. I want to hear in like 20 to 30 seconds or less from each of you. What is the value of Women Speakers Association? What has it been? So Kelli, why don't you start?
I think it is what you just said. It is a sisterhood where we can collaborate, be in a safe space, and whatever you're trying to do. So for me, I wanted to share my personal book, and I was able to do that through the bookstore. There's so many resources with Women Speakers Association, and I think that you need that. You need the accountability and the sisterhood,
Perfect.
collaboration, all of that.
Thank you. Great. Brenda, how about for you?
Yeah, the benefits of community are enormous, and especially the women's community. And what I'm loving is the inspiration and the opportunities that are arising. So just being able to connect with a Canadian and American, two Americans today inspires me because it's a big world with lots of variety in it, and I want to experience as much as I can possibly experience.
Wonderful. And right back at you. We have the experience of you, and we have Australia and Canada, Candace, and US. So beautiful. Candace, how about for you?
I was thinking when you asked that question, I historically, as an introvert, I have had difficulty in my life feeling like a part of groups when I join them, when I try to do that. With Women's Speakers Association, I just felt like I belonged. I felt included right away. It was just an amazing experience for me. So if anybody else is feeling like that, join us and experience that for yourself. I love the communities. I love being able to meet some of the people from all over the world and hearing what other people are doing. I work alone in private practice. I have other counselors that work with me, but I work alone. So to be able to have access to other people, even if it's just by Zoom, I mean, thank God for Zoom, but it's just wonderful to be able to connect to other women who have the same goals and who are also open to including me and everybody else. So I just love it. I don't have enough time for it, unfortunately. I can't come to everything, but I love being part of it.
Yeah, we love having each of you here, and thanks for highlighting that we are in a very highly inclusive and sisterhood, and everybody's message is equally important. And I reiterate that from our founder, Gail Watson. And thank you again, Kelli, Brenda, and Candace, for an amazing show on preparing for your greatness. And go out there and be great and keep being great. And we'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
having
everyone.
us.